Now I'll show you what you can make with the sheet metal bender for your house or workshop. So if you have this, it would be easy for you to make your own toolboxes. Actually, if you study this design wastes space. It should be rectangle because this area is rendered useless by the slope. So if it's rectangle, you can place big pieces here. Here you're limited to big pieces in this area, and then small pieces here because of the slope. But if it's rectangular, you'll be able to place more in your toolbox. So you're not limited to this design if you have this metal sheet bender. You can also practice on making a cantilever toolbox which opens up this way. So these are actually just several boxes linked together with this cantilever. So this is composed of one big rectangular box and four smaller rectangular boxes, so it opens up. So that's a nice project to make, especially if you keep on accumulating spare parts and tools in your workshop. Another useful project you can make is this dustpan. Don't be discouraged by the shape. This is actually just a box. Instead of having 4 sides, it has 3 sides only, but it's actually a box. And then don't be intimidated by the rectangular shape. I'll show you how easy it is to make your template even if it's rectangular. Of course you have to have scrap GI sheet. You can buy new GI sheet, but I intend to show you that you can recycle scrap roofing material to make all kinds of sheet metal projects, toolboxes, dustpan, and other boxes or items you may want to make with the use of your sheet metal bender. So we'll concentrate on showing you how easy it is to make a template even if it's rectangular. What I mean is even if it's triangular. This is rectangular, this is triangular. Okay, let's continue. Of course, it's easier to make a rectangular or square dustpan than one which is triangular or has a wider lip. But the idea is that it should be wider here so that it can accommodate wider brooms. Not only that, after brooming the waste, it's easier to keep it in your waste basket when it's triangular in shape, because there is a slope already. Gravity will pull the dust or debris into the waste basket easily, and you won't have to be straining your arms, especially if the debris is heavy. Whereas if it's square, you'll have to exert more effort in holding the dustpan tilted that way. By the way, I made this several years ago. It's so old that it got so rusty already. But since I was lazy during the time, I just remedied it by riveting a biscuit can cover here. Sometimes if you've been doing sheet metal work, you can just visualize the template in your mind and you'll know what to cut. But if you're new to this tin smithing or shaping of tin metal, it's better to draw it. Okay, concentrate first on this area. Okay, never mind the others, it's easy to take care of the other parts. So okay, that one. Okay, so just draw it. Okay, that one. So since there's a slant there and here, this slant you're drawing that way. And then draw straight lines. This would be the how deep. This would be how deep your dustpan is. So it can be. So let's estimate this. It's about 4 inches. So that can be 4 inches or deeper if you want. Just draw a straight line. Connect it. And then just extend it. And then just eyeball it and then connect it. By the way, it should be straight, no? Okay, it should be straight. Okay, that will be the basic pattern for this. So after drawing, you try it out. So you cut it. This is a bigger drawing. So you cut this and then cut this portion, bend it that way, bend this portion. So you will now know what portion to bend here. So I don't draw a line here immediately. So what I do is cut the outline and then cut it up to here. This is straight, and then bend it so you will know the fold area here. So mark it with your ball pen. Now you want to imitate the size, but sometimes you cannot imitate this because the available GI sheet is smaller, so you just make adjustments. But this is how easy it is to make the template. Okay, so again, imitate that. Just draw straight lines here. Draw a line there. Now, if you would notice, this is more tapered on the left side and it goes higher on the right side. So that's easy to make. So after this, you just make adjustments by cutting this one with your aviation snips or angle grinder. Remember, when you're cutting, you put an allowance for the fold. There's a fold here. There's a fold here actually to make the, can you see it? Yeah, to make the tip and the sides stronger. Because if you just cut it and you don't fold it here, it will not be very durable. But with this fold, the fold strengthens the lip and the sides here. So in cutting your actual GI sheet, make allowance for the folds here. If you want to fold here, you put allowance and then that. Now in this particular model there is no fold here, but I like to fold it also here. So this will be strong, this will be strong, and that area will also be strong. Now it's by through experience you realize that it's easier to fold using 1/2 inch. You try folding this one and try hammering it. Sometimes you you don't hit it properly, this bends outward. But if it's like this, your chances of making mistakes is lessened. The drawback is that this is a lot heavier than a dustpan with a 1/4 fold on the outlines. So if you're a beginner, try 1/2 fold. But if you're an expert already, or if you're used to hammering thin sheet, then a 1/4 fold would suffice. So we'll be working with this scrap roofing material. Now, since it's already used, there will be holes, nails, or screw holes. Now, if you could avoid the holes, that's better. But if you have no choice but to place the template and you would hit certain holes, that's not a problem, because you can remedy the holes by soldering pieces of tin, because solder adheres to tin sheet. So very easy to remedy the holes, especially if it's second-hand or scrap metal. So concentrate on your template. Don't worry too much on the holes, because this is second-hand roofing. Okay, you don't actually have to make an actual pattern or template, but if you're the type who wants to make a template to avoid any mistakes, you can use old calendars. It's big enough to be used as a template for your dustpan. But I'll show you a method where you don't have to use a paper or cardboard template. It's easy. I'll show you right now. So just put the dustpan you're trying to copy on the scrap GI sheet. To determine whether you have to cut it this way or that way, take into account the holes. So if you cut it this way, you'll be dealing with several holes. But if you cut it this way, your problem is only one hole over there. The remaining portion has no holes. So it's better to cut the actual piece this way, okay, instead of cutting it this way. Okay, but in my case, since I have no problem dealing with holes and I want to use the remaining portion for other projects, I'll cut it this way, because if I cut it this way, you'll be wasting certain portion there. But if you cut it this way, it's just like placing the pattern paper on the cloth you want to sew. You have to figure out the economical way of cutting the cloth if you're tailoring a pant or a shirt, because I know how to sew also. So okay, I'll cut it this way and then show you later how to deal with the holes. Okay, because if you use scrap piles, sometimes it's unavoidable to be confronted with actual holes already, where the nails and screws were previously attached into the wood or beam of the roof. So measure this length, or you can just eyeball it. Be sure to have an allowance for the fold. So you'll be positioning it here. You have an allowance for the fold. Earlier I told you have to fold this portion, that portion, that. But I forgot to tell you that you also have to fold this portion for durability. So again, like that. And then just draw the actual size you want. And then refer back to my drawing on the piece of paper as to where to cut. And you now have an actual piece to be converted into a dustpan. You can cut it with your aviation snips or GI cutting scissors. or angle grinder. Angle grinder is faster, but it produces a lot of dust around your workshop. If you don't have an old calendar to use as pattern paper, you can use old newspapers in creating your template. So just outline that with your pentel pen. Don't forget to place the folding allowance also there. Here, just remember that you have to fold it here. Okay? So that's the line. And then, so that you won't be confused. So once you place the lines, you can cut it now here so that it will be easier to work with. The smaller piece will be easier to maneuver on your workbench. Put here fold, and then here cut. So here you have to fold, here you have to cut. We'll determine the folding area, this one, later. Also write fold here so you won't be confused later. You won't be making a mistake. Fold, and then this one. Fold. This GI sheet is at least 50 years old. That's why it's antique, and it's thicker than the modern GI sheets available. So you need to have strong hands in cutting this. Or if you can't cut it with your bare hands using this GI sheet cutter, then use your angle grinder. But you'll be creating a lot of dust in your workshop. Now, this is the time to smoothen the surface with your rubber mallet or hammer. I prefer to use rubber mallet so that before making the folds, the surface should be smooth and flat. So this is the time to hammer it flat with your rubber mallet. So I already folded and hammered these two sides. So two more sides to go, 1, 2. That's to strengthen the edges of the dustpan. So hammer this flat. Do the same on the other side. So cut here up to that point, here up to that point. Then this will be your folding lines. You have to fold this 90 degrees, also this part and that part. Oh, it's tough. There. Because it's tough because of that. It's tough because of that fold over there. This is a tough piece of GI sheet. That's how they made them during the olden days. Yeah. So after folding this part and that part and this one, it's now taking shape. Now mark the portion where you have to fold this with a pentel pen so you won't make a mistake. Then fold it. After folding, you have to put rivets here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this portion you can already attach the handle by means of rivets or nuts and bolts. But in my case, I want to reinforce this by placing a folded sheet of metal here. So instead of having one layer, there will be 3 layers. So there's a folded sheet. This is the first layer. This is the second layer. This one is the third layer. So it will be more durable. It will not easily tear here, especially if you use this in the garden where it will be a mixture of soil and stones and branches. So the stress point will be here. If there is only one layer, this will usually be torn. If there are 3 layers, so you place a sheet of metal there, it will not be easily destroyed here. So that's basically the form of your new dustpan. So we've practically copied the form. After finishing the rivets there, we'll take care of the holes. I'll show you how to deal with the holes in your second hand. So there are holes here, and then there are holes there. So that can easily be remedied by the use of solder and a soldering gun and small pieces of tin. So one way to fix the holes of your dustpan is to cut strips of tin metal and solder it there, because galvanized sheet metal can accept solder. So you can cut, it's like patching a bicycle tire. You cut a piece of tin metal and then solder it there. I'll show you a quicker way, which is to cut strips of metal and just glue them by means of using super glue. So we'll do that now. After cutting the sheet of metal, you just attach it on the hole by means of super glue. So after applying glue, just let it dry. Do the same on the rest of the holes. You have to press it in position for a few seconds. The super glue is quick drying, but from experience, it's best to clamp it or press while it's drying for a few seconds. So in tight areas that won't fit in your sheet metal bender, I just go at the edge of your workbench and then use an angle bar. Same principle here. And then just, so you want to bend this, put an angle bar there, use a clamp, and then hammer it into position. I mean bend it by hammering it. So we patched the holes already, hammered the areas that need to be folded. Now it's just a matter of placing rivets and then the handle for your dustpan. In this case I want to paint this because this is second-hand GI sheet, so it will last longer. So red oxide first and then the quick drying enamel. Choose the color that I still have in the storage area. So earlier I said I usually place reinforcement here, another sheet of metal here and another one there, so there will be 3 layers, 1, 2 and 3. But since I have a lot of other projects in line, I'd rather attach the handle immediately by using nuts and bolts. So I already placed the rivets. It's now just a matter of placing the handle here and then painting this dustpan. So I'll just transfer the handle from this old dustpan to this new one, also by means of nuts and bolts. This is the old broken dustpan. I just transferred the handle to this new dustpan, and then I use stainless steel bolts so that it's easy to remove later. It won't get rusty. The size is, I think, the diameter is 1/4 inch, the length is 1 1/4 inches. So this is the commercially bought dustpan from the supermarket. So this is the homemade, the DIY dustpan. So as you can see, I copied the dimensions. That's the patching of the holes. So maybe this will last for a few years or a few months, but it doesn't matter. You can easily make one. I can easily make one because I now have a metal sheet bender. This one, my DIY metal sheet bender. First I'll paint it with red oxide and then use paint enamel available in the workshop. I still have to find out what color is available in my storage. Okay, time for coffee. Oh yeah. So I already painted the DIY dustpan with red oxide. When it dries, I'll paint it with quick drying enamel. I still haven't decided what color to use. Now this is still bare wood, so maybe I'll put wood primer and then paint it with the color I still have in the workshop. As for the old dustpan, believe it or not, they still buy this in junk shops together with other scrap metal. So maybe I'll just allow it to dry here in my storage area for wood.